standing outside in our yard with a rifle in his hand.
Tonight, a Rocky Mountain Cree community in BC fear for their safety.
We're seeing trends that seem to indicate it's getting warmer and drier, and fire season seems to get longer.
A new normal in the West and its connection to climate change.
Here's evidence, here's video footage. These are Sasquatch. Come out with me in the field and I will show you a Sasquatch.
And one man is in court in an effort to prove that Bigfoot is definitely out there. Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward.
And I'm Melissa Ridgen. Hundreds of forest fires continue to burn throughout British Columbia, where a state of emergency remains in effect. And some experts are pointing the finger at climate change. There are about 550 wildfires currently burning across the province, and the state of emergency could be extended if conditions don't get better soon. The province has issued 29 evacuation orders affecting some 3,000 people. Smoke from the fires has caused thick haze and health advisories throughout many parts of Western Canada, and the BC Wildfire Service says climate change might have something to do with this disaster.
People can argue about why global warming is occurring or not occurring, but from us, from our perspective, we're seeing trends that seem to indicate it's getting warmer and drier, and fire season seems to get longer. That, I don't have the stats, but that's what it appears to me. And
community members of Kelly Lake say they're being terrorized by a property owner in the small northern British Columbia town who allege they have had rocks thrown at them and even a shot taken at them. APTN's Chris Stewart has the story.
That road doesn't belong to him.
Gordon Belcourt fears for the safety of himself and his family.
And that guy come running out of the side of the bush there and attacked Sterling. He punched his thing there and he's throwing rocks at him. And when Sterling reported him, that guy already called. He said you were trying to run him over.
Locals say the resident has been living here about 3 or 4 years, and he attacks people who drive by the road in front of his house. Belcourt gathered over a dozen members to the local school to discuss the issue. A week after he says his son was assaulted. Sterling Belcourt was driving down Fritton Road, a public road, when a rock hit his truck.
When it hit the top of my truck, I reversed all the way to him. I stopped right beside him. I asked him what he was doing. Then as soon as I stopped and said that, he reached into my vehicle to either grab me or punch me. I don't know what he was doing. And then he threatened to kill me.
What did he say exactly?
He said, I'm gonna kill you. And then before I could do anything, he smashed my mirror, and then I reversed as fast as I could, and then I called the cops.
But it is not an isolated incident. Many have been in conflict with the property owner. Wayne Gladue says he pointed a rifle at him as he tried to drive his quad on the road. Things escalated soon after.
The next day, I went driving by, and he shot at me with a .22 this time. But I was still riding the quad, but I don't know if it was a good thing I stopped before the bullet, right? But he still shot at me.
How close was the bullet?
About from here to you.
He was standing outside in our yard with a rifle in his hand. And when my parents approached him, asked him what he was doing in our yard, especially with a rifle, he said he came to introduce himself to the people. Now, what person in his right mind comes into somebody else's yard with a rifle to introduce yourself? Who does that? That's not normal.
To all of us, anybody that drives towards Lothman's, he tries to intimidate. He tries to intimidate all of us there, and he's been told over and over that road doesn't belong to him. He's been doing this to numerous people and pulling out guns. And I said, well, has anybody reported this guy to the police? Said lots of times. They said the RCMP has been called numerous times about this guy, and nothing's being done.
APTN contacted the RCMP E-Division in British Columbia for a comment. In an email, they stated it is an active investigation and cannot release details. However, community members say no RCMP officer has contacted them despite the repeated reports.
It's frustrating to feel like you're being held hostage in your own community. That we can't go visit our relatives that live down the hill because he's guarding the road.
Sterling says he won't go back to that road where he has gone since he was a boy.
Now I can't even go over there. I'm too scared to go over there.
If somebody's going to get hurt, somebody's going to get killed, and then what?
Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Kelly Lake, British Columbia.
2 people from Paul First Nation in Alberta have been charged with second-degree murder in the death of 31-year-old Ellie May House, who was a mother of 2. House was killed on August 14th. 31-year-old Nora Flora Papin and 33-year-old Neil Benjamin Morin were found by police in Cold Lake, Alberta, 3 days later. An autopsy revealed that House died as a result of a gunshot wound. The RCMP called her death an isolated and purposeful incident. We want to hear what you think. Here's how to continue the conversation. You can send your emails to news@aptn.ca. You can find us online at aptnnews.ca and on youtube.com/aptnnews. You can also follow APTN News on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more Indigenous news.
Family, friends, and community members in Winnipeg came together on Friday to honor Tina Fontaine. August 17th marked the 4-year anniversary of the 15-year-old's body being pulled from the Red River. A feast was held on Friday, and that was followed by a walk to the Alexander Docks, where her body was discovered in 2014. Fontaine's death remains unsolved.
After 8 years and some controversy, Ganawage Sustainable Energies will finally move forward with its plans for a wind farm. It was announced Friday that they've partnered up with Kruger Energy to build a wind farm in the Montéjorie area of Quebec. The original 24-megawatt wind farm was delayed due to years of protests by residents of the initial location. Bud Morris, president of Ganawage Sustainable Energies, expressed relief that the project is moving forward.
Just very happy again that we're able to bring this partnership to bear. We think that it's a demonstration, or it will demonstrate that Aboriginal people are open for business and that we can deliver world-class renewable energy projects.
With more than 630 First Nations, 2 Métis, and 4 Inuit territories spread out over thousands of kilometers, APTN News is bringing everyone just a little closer. We've partnered with Google to present Google Bulletin. It's your gateway to write about anything that's happening in your community. Just contact us and we'll send you a unique code. The rest is up to you. Post pictures, write a story, or report about anything you want. Google Bulletin puts the news in your hands, and all you need is a smartphone. Here's how to get your unique code. Email your name and community to bulletin@aptn.ca. Go to our website, aptnnews.ca/bulletin. Well, do you believe Sasquatch exists?
Todd Standing does, and he's taking the government of BC to court over it. We'll speak with him and see what he says is proof after the break. But first, here's a look at Tuesday's weather forecast. To Fredericton, we've got sunshine and 26, 24 in Halifax and Charlottetown. Kuujjuaq's in at 16 with some sunshine. Happy Valley Goose Bay, 18 in cloud. Chibougamau, rain and 22. Saguenay, 26 in sun. 25 and rain in London and Toronto and Peterborough. Big Trout Lake, sunshine and 20. Same with Sioux Lookout and Thunder Bay. Churchill, rain and 16. Thompson and Pucktawagan, rain and 20. Gimli and Winnipeg in at 25 with sunshine. Barons River and Harbour, 23. 26 in Saskatoon, 25 in Regina. Lots of sun down south in Saskatchewan. Uranium City, rain and 21. Stony Rapids, rain and 20. And 23s for Buffalo Narrows and La Ronge, 23. And sunshine. Residential school survivors called it a monumental day. A new and permanent exhibition is unveiled at the site of a former residential school in Sault Ste. Marie. CTV has more.
And I left here in the spring of 1957.
Mike Kakagi spent 5 years of his life at the former residential school. He says he and other survivors are happy to see the exhibit titled Reclaiming Shingwalk Hall, Healing and Reconciliation Through Education. He feels it will allow the history of the survivors to carry on.
And they can actually see the physical evidence of the residential schools and what happened here. And that means a lot to them. Before it was obscure, it was written maybe in pictures or in, some references from here and here, but here they can walk in and actually see the physical history of the residential schools.
In this space, there's actually 3 distinct gallery spaces. One is really focusing on the history of the site, so going back to the 1700s. And there's also a gallery space that's honoring the resilience of the children of Shingwalk, so folks who attended the residential school. And then there is a gallery space that is focused on the residential school experience.
Algoma University officials say survivors played an integral role in bringing this project to fruition. Survivors helped choose the photographs and text that tell the history of this site.
I noticed this morning with our private showing here, the viewing, was a lot of the children had a lot of interest in this, and because this is where their father and mother went, and most instances their grandparents at a school similar to this, and there was a lot of interest, a lot of feeling with the young people.
The exhibit is open to the public in Shingwalk Hall at Algoma University. Lincoln Loudit, CTV News, Sault Ste. Marie.
A shipping container is making its way across Ontario, and inside are powerful messages about sexual violence. As Willow Fiddler reports, it's helping some victims heal in Thunder Bay.
It's called Sexual Assault, the Roadshow. Inside is an art exhibition by victims of sexual violence. It's traveling across Ontario and has stopped in Thunder Bay for 1 month. Michelle Desrosiers is the host artist for this stop of the tour. She said it's a chance for victims to express themselves.
The name of this is Basagwe, which is he or she is standing up. And that's kind of what we've helped each other to do here.
She invited a group of women together to make this birch bark exhibit. Stephanie Cuizet said the big basket is for words of hope and encouragement.
And those messages are used for the healing process of people who have been through anything in life that they need to recover from.
And a smaller basket for negative notes like guilt and shame, common for victims of sexual violence.
And we put those in a basket as well, and they're all surrounded by the sacred medicines. And we wanted to make that one smaller because even though in the moment it feels like it takes over your whole self, it's not like it's not your whole journey. It's, it's just part of it, and it's just the process of what you've been through.
The Sexual Assault Roadshow was started by Jane Doe from Toronto, a sexual assault victim who successfully sued the Toronto police for not protecting her from a serial rapist known to them. Desrosiers said sexual violence has its own impact on Indigenous people.
We have such a hard time talking about sexual violence, and we know from our history, with residential schools and with the 60s scoop and with colonization that we've experienced a lot of that in our families and our communities.
Desrosiers said women aren't the only victims opening up and that men have been by to share their experiences.
It was like the most beautiful thing to have our men and our women come up and talk and share with us that they were sexually violated when they were a boy, and do that in this safe space. And all we had to do really was surround them with love and let them talk.
She said opening up this kind of space to the community has been a powerful experience.
There's some of the words, we've hanging on the red ribbon there's words from some of our men. And those, to me, have been the most powerful.
The Roadshow will be traveling to Sault Ste. Marie and Manitoulin Island next. Willow Fiddler, APTN National News, Thunder Bay.
Todd Standing is so certain Bigfoot exists that he's taking the government of British Columbia to court over the matter. And he says he has evidence that proves beyond a reasonable doubt that Sasquatch still roams the mountains in Canada and the U.S. This week, a judge reserved his decision on whether to throw the case out. We spoke with Standing earlier to shed more light on the lawsuit and the evidence. Todd, appreciate you taking some time for us here today. Can you tell us how this lawsuit came about?
Well, it's been over 12 years. I've been going to Fish and Wildlife and telling them, here's evidence, here's video footage. These are Sasquatch. Come out with me in the field and I will show you a Sasquatch. And for over a decade, they've been denying me that. And this is in Alberta, British Columbia, Montana, Washington, and California. Those states and provinces, Fish and Wildlife, will not come out with me and will not allow me to show them a Sasquatch. So now I'm suing them, starting in British Columbia, for dereliction of duty. This is a wildlife species. It's their job. They have to take responsibility for it. And I'm suing them for not. Just the same way you'd sue a police officer who's not enforcing the law when it's his job to do so. I don't want to hear excuses. It's their job. Enforce the law. Media like yourself go around and do stories when police officers or fishery officers eyewitness a Sasquatch and Fish and Wildlife doesn't show up, they don't do anything. The incident with the police officer in northern British Columbia, he didn't know what to do. He was there twice scaring off a Sasquatch, and that's not his job. It's a wildlife issue. Where was Fish and Wildlife? And I'll tell you where. They were nowhere, doing nothing. That's what they do when it comes to Sasquatch.
And so you say you have evidence beyond reasonable doubt that Sasquatch exists. Can you tell us a bit about that evidence?
I have every piece of evidence. I have DNA, I have forensic evidence, I have eyewitness testimony from professors and engineers, doctors, PhDs, people that have absolutely unequivocally seen the species, DNA that is undeniable from multiple sources. I mean, if this was a murder trial, the person being charged with murder is going to jail for sure. Like, this is an ocean of evidence, and if this goes to trial, which is what they don't want, which is the difficulty to get it to go to trial, but if it goes to trial, I'll win. The problem is we need some sort of precedent case study to show the judge that this sort of lawsuit has gone to trial before, and that's what's really difficult. We're trying to compare ourselves to civil allegations and tobacco companies, and it's hard to make that connection so a judge can let this go to court, because he doesn't care how much evidence we have. He just needs to see a precedent, and that's what the difficulty is right now.
And so what is a successful outcome for you in this lawsuit?
When I win, I will have proven that Sasquatch is real, A, and therefore Fish and Wildlife are derelict in their duty, B, and the outcome will be I'm going to ask them to go on a 3-month ecological survey with me into the wilderness in British Columbia or Alberta or Montana, wherever it is, and I will show them everything they need to know about a Sasquatch to begin the appropriate biological study and acknowledgement of this species.
And Todd, do you know when this is coming back to court?
Well, the judge is going to render a decision, and we'll see what happens after that. But no matter if he lets it go to trial, I'll win the trial. If he doesn't let it go to trial, we'll find a new way, or I'll go to Alberta, or actually California's next. The law there has been much more agreeable than it has here in Canada, and we'll go give California a try.
Well, Todd, it's quite a case, and one we will most certainly be following. I appreciate you taking some time for us this afternoon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we want to hear what you have to say about this or any other story. Here's how to continue the conversation. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca. Find us online at aptnnews.ca and on youtube.com/aptn news. You can also follow APTN News on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more Indigenous news. What did you make of that evidence?
If he needs somebody to be with him in the bush for 3 months tracking Sasquatch, I'm his girl. I prefer to wait till he does the California trip, though.
Yeah,
the warmer one. Yeah.
I think that's a show all on its own. Melissa and Todd standing, tracking Bigfoot. Time for another quick break, and then we're off to Yellowknife for Pride.
But first, here's the rest of Tuesday's weather forecast. To northern Alberta, we've got 28 and sunshine and high level, 26 and sun in Fort McMurray. Edmonton's in with lots of sun at 26. Calgary, some sun in 23. 24 and windy and smoky in Campbell River, 24 in Victoria, 21 in cloud in Vancouver. Dease Lake, lots of smoke, 24. Fort Nelson, 26. Sunshine in Fort St. John and 26. To the Yukon, 12 up in Old Crow, 18 and rain in Dawson. Norman Wells, rain and 15. Yellowknife, some mix of sun and cloud and 17. Tuck will be mix of sun and cloud at 4. Deline, 13 and rain. Cambridge Bay, 2 and rain. Baker Lake, 7 and lots of sunshine and a little mix of cloud. Resolute, rain and 5. Clyde River, rain and 8. And Iqaluit, rain and 7.
Welcome back. There was a whole lot of color and glitter in Yellowknife this weekend, and organizers for Northwest Territories Pride say there is a lot to celebrate this year. Our reporter Charlotte Morton-Jacobs has more.
If you have both of those songs might go to in the morning.
It might not be the biggest Pride celebration Yellowknife has seen, but for Storm the Rock, it's more important that Pride is shared with everyone.
I know that people were a little disappointed that our festival wasn't as big as it has been, wasn't at Flip on the Rocks this year, but people have completely understood why it's been smaller, and including the fact that we're supporting communities outside of Yellowknife. Everybody has been like, yes, because everything happens in Yellowknife.
The Rock says more of the Pride budget was spent outside of Yellowknife, leading to the first Pride parade in remote communities like Inuvik.
Other communities have taken on the mantle of either having parades or festival events, and then even GSA, Gay Straight Alliances, and high schools have been putting on events across the territories. It's been huge. A lot of communities are having their first ever Pride celebration this year.
But there's more firsts. The Rock is the first Indigenous president of NWT Pride and the first to bring an all-Indigenous lineup to the event. NWT's Young Dene and Vancouver's JB the First Lady took to the stage with many songs of challenge and triumph.
My song, Still Here, is like my life's work in one song. And for our people, as Indigenous people, we overcame waves of genocide, and now, no matter what, no government, no police, no justice system, no drugs and alcohol can take away our strong, resilient spirit.
For JB, the First Lady, she says supporting Pride is supporting reconciliation.
For me, some of the teachings that I've received is that for us to truly get to bringing back the traditional roles of our people is centering our women and our Two-Spirit people, because Two-Spirit people can understand male and female energy, and they were able to bring a new perspective that is very well needed.
For The Rock, they say the territory is becoming more inclusive, but more can be done, and it starts with listening.
Because the thing is a lot of us in these marginalized groups, I class myself as an Indigenous and Two-Spirit person. A lot of the times, I do have my own voice, and it's really just needing the platform to use it. I don't need other people speaking for me.
Charlotte Moore-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
That is your APTN National News for this Monday.
And for news anytime, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Have a great night.
And I'm Dennis Ward. We'll see you back here tomorrow.